Hi everyone. So today's video is inspired by my love for writing and sending letters. Honestly, I think writing letters is sort of a forgotten art, at least for the younger generation. I mean, realistically, why would you go out of your way to handwrite something and then go to the post office and then wait 3 to 4 business days all to just communicate a message, when instead you could just type it out on your little cellular device all in the matter of a couple of seconds. I can totally understand that it's mostly an inconvenience, but I think it really is so different. The experience of reading a letter on paper versus the experience of reading a text on your phone is like comparing apples and oranges. For one, I think phones and the nature of them are just incredibly dehumanizing and damaging to our perception of what human connection is. The entire world is literally at your fingertips at any given moment, and that can be very powerful. Yes, it can provide a brief escape from reality, but that doesn't come without any consequences. Something I've learned is that the more dependent you become on social media and technology, the more robot you start to become. And I'm so guilty of this. I often will scroll Instagram for hours in order to avoid something. And it's so numbing in the way that it's like a drug. And I think that's why people can be so easily addicted to their phones and not really realize it. I will find myself scrolling on my phone for so long, and my thumb is just like come so automated to this like scrolling motion that it's like second nature for my thumb to just do it without me even thinking. And like, how terrible is that? Like, I'll be awake at 2 a.m. on my phone and it's dark and I'm sleep deprived and I'm like laughing at something that I saw. I was just laughing so hard, and as I just like slowly stopped laughing, I sort of realized like, what the fuck am I doing? Here I am laughing at this like stupid little rectangle box. It's not even real, it's just a electronic reproduction of what life is. And instead of going out there and experiencing it, I'm just viewing it like I'm some brainwashed character from Fahrenheit 51 or those dystopian books we had to read in high school. All this to say is that if you don't have boundaries with social media, it's bound to take any pre-existing mental health struggles you have and make it 10 to 20 times worse. That's not scientific, I just made that up, but I'm sure it's pretty accurate because I've experienced it for realsies. And I know you're like, what does this have to do with writing letters and having no friends? And to that I say, it has a lot to do with that, I say. So if we rewind the clock to about 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know, however old I was when I was just a wee little girl, I was the most miserable girl on earth. Not really, I wasn't, but it sure felt like it. I was lonely, I was an outcast, I had no friends, and I was painfully awkward and shy, and that resulted in me being super bitter and cynical. I literally became just a little negative ball of energy. I quite literally ate lunch in the bathrooms. Not even kidding, I ate lunch in the bathrooms because I would rather sit and eat my food with the poopy particles than be in a cafeteria with a bunch of overstimulating kids that I always thought were going to judge me. And the reason why I'm bringing up my past is because I want y'all to believe me, and I want to have some credibility when I say I've experienced loneliness and I know how annoying and painful it can be, which is why I'm making this video in the first place. This video is essentially a video that I wish little me could have watched. I feel a sense of catharsis being able to make this video because I think it may help people who are still stuck in any type of lonely phase in their life, because that's what it is. It's a phase. And we go through so many phases in life, and it's always going to be momentary. Nothing is forever, and I know it's sort of hard to take a peek over that big wall of isolation and glimpse at any glimmer of hope, but I hope y'all can trust me when I say that I'm living proof that it does get better, and you're not always going to feel like this. I think the act of writing letters isn't necessarily the cure to loneliness, but I think it can really be the first step to having any sense of connection and feeling like you belong in this world. One of my all-time favorite movies was actually the thing that opened my eyes to the joys of writing letters. It's a movie called Mary and Max, and it's a stop-motion movie, and the style looks and feels like it could be a kid's movie, but it's definitely not intended for children, and if you watch that movie thinking it is, you would be mistaken, and you'd probably also be traumatized. It's a movie that deals with very dark topics in a way filtered through humor and quirkiness, but at the same time, it still remains to be sincere and heartwarming despite the morbid undertones. The movie is about two individuals who are so different in every physical sense and environmental sense. But what connects them together is their shared feelings of loneliness and isolation from the world around them. And this film truly captures the confusion and the feeling of being so detached from everyone around you, but it also showcases the healing nature of human connection, and I think there's something very special in that. The film focuses on Mary and Max's relationship as they coincidentally become pen pals. Through each letter exchange, we get to learn more about the characters, and they both learn about themselves as well.
He said I would have to accept myself, my warts and all, and that we don't get to choose our warts. They are a part of us, and we have to live with them. We can, however, choose our friends.
It's a heartbreaking yet heartwarming film about discovering the ups and downs of life and friendship. It does a really good job at portraying mental illness in a nuanced way. It has such a lovely contrast of dark and light, beautiful and ugly, funny and serious moments that really reflects life in a way that's neither glamorized or ingenuine. I first learned about pen pals through this film, and I don't want to be dramatic and be like, it changed my life, but seriously, it really changed something about me, and I think films like this can be so powerful, and they just have to be acknowledged, so I really wanted to dedicate a little segment to this video about this movie, because I just respect it so much, and yeah, moving on. I think physical media is sort of treated as a trend amongst the younger generation because it's sort of like a novelty for us because we aren't used to it and we never really got a chance to experience it. The most I remember about that era is when we would go to Blockbuster every Friday after school and we were allowed to choose one movie to watch, and it was the most like special and exciting part of my day. Things like that no longer exist in life unless you're someone who like specifically values it and you have to go out of your way to make those moments. So yeah, I think there's almost like a subculture of people now who are collecting physical media such as books, DVDs, CDs, video games, and whatnot, but I think the one thing that's rarely ever talked about is letters. Letters are physical media, you know, you're physically writing something out, and instead of like sending a digital text, you're physically delivering it and, you know, pen to paper. So yeah, I'd say the act of writing a letters is like a method of preservation when it comes to collecting physical media. I've kept every letter I've ever received, and it is such a joy being able to read them at my own expense, and I think it can be the perfect way to experience nostalgia and to protect memories, and to be able to relive them again is really special. The second reason is it's just straight up fun. As someone who loves to collect stationery and stickers, it really just fuels this part of me that naturally wants to do that. And of course you can use your stationery for personal use, such as like journaling and scrapbooking, but I feel like I've experienced so much joy from being able to send it to someone else and letting them experience whatever it is I sent them. And especially me, like, I'm someone who likes to collect things, and that could sort of lead to me like hoarding things and never using them. So sometimes stickers would just collect dust, and I just never wanted to use them because I felt they were too special to be used. But now with pen paling, it feels like I have the perfect reason to use them. I don't feel guilty about sending them to someone else, especially because oftentimes they'll send you stickers back, and I think it's so fun being able to exchange little stationery things, and it's essentially like a never-ending loop of receiving and giving. I think it really is something that heals my inner child, and it's just so fun being able to be shameless with playing and decorating with glue sticks, scissors, colored pencils, stickers, and just everything you had access to when you were a kid and now you can relive again. Writing letters doesn't have to be a serious thing. You can add as much glitter and creativity to it as you want because there's no rules. What I love about it is it's a chance to be creative in a life that sometimes represses and denies creativity. I've already sort of mentioned this, but the experience of receiving a letter and opening it is unlike anything in this world. Seriously, it's such a unique and sentimental experience because you're reading something that is handwritten for you and was intended for your eyes only. I still remember the first time I read a pen pal letter and it literally made me want to cry because I had never felt so just connected to someone in a way that wasn't, face to face or through a phone. And I feel like just being able to see someone's handwriting is also such an intimate experience. Whether or not they write their Y's with a loop, or if they write in cursive or not, or how big their letters are, or if they spell words wrong a lot like I do. I just think it's so fascinating. And I think vulnerability also is a big factor when it comes to writing letters because you're free to express your thoughts. You can unreveal your deepest secrets. And to me, I think it's such a safe way to do it because, you're not, again, confronted with facing someone head on. And even without seeing a person in real life, I think you can convey so much emotion simply with just writing words on paper. So please, write a love letter to your significant other. Write an apology letter to someone you want to make amends with. Just write any type of letter. It's not cringe. I think a lot of times people think that, expressing your thoughts through paper is cringe, but I think what's cringe is you thinking that's cringe. So just go do it. I will forever be the biggest advocate for writing letters. I think every human needs to experience reading a letter and writing a letter at least once in their life. In this day and age, I think there's a great expectation to do everything fast. And it's pretty much unavoidable. We work fast, we reply fast, we eat fast, we sleep fast, we take breaks fast. And if you're anything but fast, then you're considered lazy, you're unproductive, and you're wasting time, and you're not going to get anywhere in life. Everything humans do is pretty much with the mind of efficiency and how we can save time and money. There's always something you can be doing or something you're missing out on. And to all of that, I just say no. I refuse to succumb to any type of societal pressure that's telling me what I'm doing isn't good enough or just isn't enough. Personally, I'm in absolutely no rush to experience life. I'm not running to get to anywhere, and I don't care if that makes me unambitious or lazy or selfish. I'd rather be called that than live with the constant anxiety and stress of always thinking, what am I going to do next? Or what can I be doing more of? Instead, I think, what can I be doing less of? And I'm fully aware that this mindset is a very privileged mindset to have, and it's something that I'm extremely thankful for. And this position in life that I'm in is something that I will never take for granted because I know not everyone is fortunate enough to have this mindset. But if you can, I definitely recommend just taking that expectation of living life fast and throwing it away. I totally get that this is not really the point of the video, but trust me, it all connects. It takes time to write a letter, and it takes time for it to ship to wherever you're shipping it to. It's like a turtle compared to sending a text that is the rabbit. I think with phones, we've gotten so used to the expectation of immediately replying as soon as you get the text. And I'm not the best text or phone person in the world. I don't know why, I just really take my time when it comes to those things, and I feel no sense of urgency at all. And people hate that. I'm fully aware that people totally think they're entitled to having a fast response. And of course, I can understand if it's something important, but if it's something that's not important, ultimately the pressure and the demand to text back is just too much for me. And personally, I'm someone who struggles with social anxiety. And just because it's through the phone doesn't make my social anxiety just disappear. It still exists. I dread FaceTime calls. I dread texting when you're both texting at the same time, and I dread phone calls, and just like anything where I'm in the direct line of communication just like totally like makes me want to have a meltdown. And that's what I love about writing letters. You can take as much time as you want in the world. I have a pen pal in the UK, and I kid you not, we take like months to reply to each other. And it's not like we forget about each other, like, you know, we're just experiencing life, and whenever we take the time to write a letter, it's such a precious time, and I think it's a ritual that's really beautiful, and it doesn't have to be something so quick and rushed. So yeah, if you're someone who hates the phone and hates texting, I definitely recommend to try writing a letter. Okay, so this reason is basically the entire message of this video in a sense. If you're someone who doesn't have friends and think you're never gonna experience the friendship that you see in movies and TV shows, and let me be the person to tell you that no, probably not. Maybe? Well, I think it depends on, you know, what you want to hear, honestly. If you're uncomfortable with loneliness and you want to find a friend, then I'm telling you right now, it's not as hard as it seems. It might be difficult in the tangible sense. For example, I'm a 20-year-old girl who didn't go to school. I'm unemployed, except for YouTube. I pretty much stay at home all day. I don't really go out often. So how the hell am I supposed to make and meet a friend? It's impossible. I mean, it is possible, but it's impossible for my circumstances. And because of all these circumstances, it's hard for me to just go outside and meet someone and declare them my friend. It's hard to establish a solid friendship when, you know, just like you're not in an environment where people like that exist. And plus, I'm an introvert like through and through. I don't even really want to make a bunch of friends and socialize like that. However, I do have the desire for human connection because it can really be such a beautiful thing. It's entirely possible, and you don't need to be face to face with someone to experience it. Okay, so I thought of this point right after I stopped filming, so this is me from the future. If you're someone who likes the idea of journaling, and there's this thing called like shadow journaling, and it's where you basically answer prompts that are supposed to sort of like help you talk about your trauma and reflect and really learn more about yourself by confronting, you know, any type of emotional things you feel like you're repressing. I've always really liked this idea of doing that, but I was like talking to some of my friends and we were talking about how doing that can sort of like bring you on the verge of a mental breakdown because it really is so confrontational. And if you're not like in a safe space with your mind, I just think not necessarily like make things worse, but it just really depends on where your headspace is at and if you're ready for that type of self-growth. Yeah, I just think it's a good alternative to consider if maybe you've always liked that idea of journaling, but you don't feel like you can. I think getting a pen pal is just a good solution to that. It's not anything overwhelming because you can control what you talk about. And for the most part, it's pretty lighthearted and you can get as deep as you want to get, and you can, you know, just sort of like set that boundary in the tone of your writing. So yeah, I just thought I would mention that because I think it's definitely something that I would say can be the determining factor of if you want to get a pen pal or not. So, how do you find a pen pal? First option might sound the most obvious, but I think it has the most potential to work, and that is to ask literally anyone you might know. And I get it, the whole point of this video is for people that don't have friends, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like super close friends or anything. Maybe you're mutuals with somebody you know online. Maybe you made a friend while playing Roblox or something. I don't know, I'm not a gamer, but I feel like that is a possibility. I know I've made online friends before, and although we never kept in touch, I think we could have kept in touch if I had made the effort to. And also, one of my pen pals, we randomly like followed each other on Instagram, and so I just DM'd her and I was like, hey, do you want to write letters to each other? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, cool. And we started writing letters to each other, and it's been amazing. So I think like if you ever come across someone that you look like you share something in common over social media, then I think you should definitely shoot yourself. I think you should definitely shoot your shot. You just gotta get creative with it and try not to limit yourself or put any, labels on people that you may know. Just because you don't know them personally doesn't mean you can't ask them. As a matter of fact, I think some of the greatest pen pals I have are from people that were just total strangers before, just total blank canvases, and it's been such a fun moment to get to know them through sending letters. Another option I thought of, and I really want this to work, but it might not, we are gonna try to use my comment section in this video. I think everyone who watches this channel and is subscribed all share something in common, which is creativity, being whimsical and imaginative and fun and awesome. That's all the characteristics that I want to try to portray in my videos, and I think that reflects onto my audience as well. So yeah, if you watch my videos, I think you're a cool person, and I think you could find another cool person to send letters with. If you truly want a pen pal and you're committed to finding one, you can leave a comment and you can talk a little bit about yourself. You can mention any hobbies you like, any music you like, any films, just anything that you might be interested in. You can also be super specific, especially when it comes to things like age and location. That can be a very important factor when determining who you want to write to. And I'll also say it's really fun to write to people who are in different countries, because I think you can just learn so much about their culture, and it's just I think a different experience. So yeah, if you do end up leaving a comment, hopefully you can find a match, and from there you need to communicate somehow. The YouTube comment section is unfortunately not the best place for this, so I would definitely recommend going to another social media app or just some type of other contact you can be reached at, such as an email, even an email that you don't use. If you don't feel comfortable leaving your main one, you can leave your Instagram or even your Pinterest. You can DM on Pinterest. Just don't leave super personal information, such as your phone number, And this part is so important because you need to be able to exchange private information with this person, and you don't want to be leaving your address in a YouTube comment. Also, I highly recommend building up a little trust between you and the other person before sending out any private information. So just do a little back and forth communication, send a few emails to each other, get to know each other, really establish a layer of trust before committing to writing any letter. Just be safe. You guys, there's really creepy people on the internet, and I'm not trying to promote giving your address to random strangers on the internet at all, which is why I'm emphasizing the importance of making sure you're connecting with a person that is a good person. And I'm not trying to be a party pooper, I swear. I hate being a party pooper, but if you're under the age of 16, I highly recommend consulting your parent or your guardian first before giving out any private information online, because let's face it, there's always going to be the risk of meeting someone online that does not have pure intentions, and that can be scary. But I'm also not trying to scare you away from having a pen pal, because most likely that's not going to happen and you're not going to have to worry about that, but it's just always important to be extra cautious when giving out private information online. And if all of these options don't work and you still are searching for a pen pal, I have one last resort, but I think it's really the last resort type of thing. On Reddit, there is a subreddit called Pen Pals, I think, and it's just specifically dedicated to people finding a pen pal. And I've never used it before, but I've looked at it and it seems pretty legit. I think people are really just looking for a pen pal, and people do, get comments of people asking. So I think you could definitely find some interesting people on there, but at the end of the day, it is Reddit, and I think you just need to be careful. Okay, this may sound stupid, but the first time I wrote a letter, I was genuinely so confused on how to send it out. And it's not like they teach these things in school anymore, so I was just really intimidated by it, and I felt like everything I was gonna do was wrong. But I'm here to tell you guys, it's literally so easy. It's so easy. First of all, it really depends on what country you reside in. There's different rules and regulations for every post office, so this explanation is going to be for all my American folks in the US. If you live somewhere else and you're unsure, you can literally ask anyone above the age of 30, and I'm sure they'll tell you how. or you can Google it, or you can go to your local post office and ask the employees. There's so many ways to figure it out, but for the US, it's pretty simple. Probably the most critical thing to have is stamps. There's 2 stamps that I think are the most important, and you really only need one, but these 2 I think are beneficial to have. USA Forever stamps and USA Global Forever stamps, those 2. Basically, the way stamps work is, if you think of it like currency, 1 stamp equals 73 cents, and that price can change a lot. I think it's actually increased recently. But the good thing about the USA Forever stamps is that they are fixed price, so you're always guaranteed to have the right amount of postage, even if the price changes. I think that's amazing because it makes the process so much less confusing, and you don't have to worry about how much your stamp equals to the cost of mailing a letter. And then the Global USA stamps, these are for sending international mail. I love using these whenever I'm sending a letter out internationally because you only need 1 stamp. If you were using the little rectangle ones, then you would have to put like 2 to 3 stamps to make up for the correct postage because it costs more money to ship to further places. For weight, if a letter weighs more than 1 ounce, which this only happens if you're sending like a lot of things in a letter, like you'd have to send like kind of a lot for it to weigh more than 1 ounce, then you would need to add another stamp to make up for that amount of postage. So a good rule of thumb for stamps is if your letter weighs less than 1 ounce, then you only need 1 stamp. But if it weighs more than 1 ounce, then I would add 2. Plus, if you're shipping internationally, then I would add 3 stamps, especially if it weighs more than 1 ounce. And this might sound confusing. You could probably like do the actual calculations and add up how much it costs, but I personally never do that. I just kind of eyeball it. Even if I'm feeling a little nervous about sending a letter, I'll sometimes just add an extra stamp just to be cautious. I'd rather be safe than sorry sometimes. If your letter weighs more than 3.5 ounces, then that's actually too much to be classified as a letter, and then you have to pay for the actual shipping costs and a shipping label. You can find stamps at a really cheap price on eBay. They also have them on Amazon and on the actual post office website, but those tend to be more expensive, so I definitely recommend checking out eBay for stamps because you can find some really cool designs at really cheap prices. So after you have your correct amount of stamps, you have to write the address. You first start with the return address, which is your address, and usually you'll put that in like the top left corner of the letter. It's not required to write a return address, but I highly recommend it because if there's ever an issue with your letter, they know where to send it back to, and if you don't write it, then they'll probably just end up throwing it away. And then the second thing you'll write is the sending address, which is the address to whoever you're sending it to, and that usually goes in the middle, and that is a required step so that they know who to send it to. Once that's done, you're pretty much done writing your letter. You're just gonna go to a mailbox, put it in there, and you can wait sometimes less than a week, or if you're sending it internationally, it usually takes about 2 weeks. And that's it. That's how you send a letter. Okay, now this is the really, really fun part. Generally, I think there's only 2 things that you need to send a pen pal. The first thing is, of course, the letter. That's the most important part. That's like the heart of a letter. And maybe you're like, I don't know what to write about. You can write about anything. You can write about how your day went. You can write about future things you're excited about, just like any thoughts you have. I find that like once you get into the flow of it, then the words just kind of like start writing themselves. Also, another tip for letter writing is to actually write it all out on Google Docs or some type of digital thing first. I find just having a rough draft makes the process so much easier because I'm someone who spells stuff wrong, like every word. I sometimes just like write like a 5-year-old. It's very important to me to have autocorrect on. Definitely recommend that. And then the second part of writing a pen pal is the questionnaire sheet. And there's an efficient way to send it without it getting too confusing, which it can get confusing if you don't know how to send it. So the way I like to do it is I'll use a separate sheet of paper, and I'll usually come up with about like 3 or 5 questions, some open-ended ones, and then some yes and no ones, just a good mix of those. So you have your questions for your pen pal, but then you're also going to answer those same questions for yourself. That way your pen pal can get to know a little bit more about you, And that way, whenever you send it to them, they'll be able to answer your questions, but also see the answer to your own questions. And then they'll get their own piece of paper, come up with their own questions, answer their own questions, send it to you, and then the process just repeats itself over and over again, and it's really fun. Questionnaires aren't some required thing, but I think it's just like a fun activity to do, and there's so many other fun activities you can do with your pen pal. For example, you can make a little profile sheet about yourself. I had a pen pal do this one time, and it was so cute, and if you think of it like you're making your own like MySpace website profile thing, and you can put a little picture or a drawing of yourself, and you can list all your likes and dislikes and just make it all about you. I think it can really be so fun, especially getting to exchange them. Or you can make like a playlist and movie recommendation paper. There's so many, the possibilities are just endless, honestly. One of my favorite things to send pen pals is just little trinkets of my life and things I come across that are small enough to fit in a letter. You can send your favorite tea bag, you can send pressed flowers, you can send flower seed packets and pages and quotes from your favorite book, favorite poetry. You can send stickers from local businesses, you can send sprays of your favorite perfume so they can smell the scent, drawings and doodles, coins, bookmarks, business cards, postcards. You can send little candies. There's literally like so much you can send, so many beautiful things in life that can fit into the small space of a letter. And it truly does open my eyes to hunt and appreciate the small little things in life. Some fun things my pen pals have sent me: these shark glasses, some postcards, Pokemon card, some pictures of when we hung out, crafts, handmade stickers, coloring sheet to do, a zine or zine, I don't know how to pronounce it, but super cool, some doodles and drawings, and so many other things that I just haven't taken out, but it's literally like so joyous and fun. We used to train and domesticate pigeons just for the purpose of sending letters, and now pigeons just, are another common bird, and we've totally abandoned them, along with the art of writing letters. So I propose we bring back letter writing, we bring back this delicate art of being vulnerable in words, and purposely resist the digital alternative of our phones, because quite frankly, I think having a pen pal is the greatest thing to do if you have no friends, because you can really get a sense of connection and companionship all through letters and words. And also something I love is just like the overall anticipation of it. It really does give me something to look forward to. As soon as you put your letter in the mailbox, it's really such like a thrilling thing to know that it's going to travel all the way to meet your pen pal. My late grandma left behind a hobby she once had. She used to collect stamps, and it's something I discovered very recently. I didn't even know this about her when she was alive. So being able to explore this part of my grandmother's life, even though I wasn't there, is really heart-touching. Sometimes I see little handwritten things she wrote on the stamps she bought, and it just like really warms my heart, because I know she must have gotten so much joy from them, and a part of me thinks she would have really liked this video. But yeah, what are you waiting for? Go pick up a pen, go pick up a pepper. Not a pepper, go pick up a pen. Paper, I was trying to say paper. Thank you guys so much for watching me talk this long about writing letters. It's just something I'm very passionate about. I definitely think it's something that is a hobby, and yeah, my mouth is dry. I feel lightheaded from talking so much, so I'm gonna shut up. Please subscribe if you want to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.